Half-Life Alyx feels like a fever dream. It brought VR what it needed at a time where there were lackluster stories, what some deem buggy controls, and overall a title they could actually recognize. It broke that original boundary that VR had been known for as a niche area of gaming that only had some big-name titles. But holy shit did this game not do Half-Life well. Before we start, I'm going to be mostly ignoring these two titles in the Half-Life series, not because they're bad, mostly because the focus is on where Alyx takes place, and neither of these two have influence over that. You may have heard that in my last video I said Half-Life Alyx didn't know which side of Half-Life 2 it was on. They gave us Half-Life Alyx, a game that doesn't know which side of Half-Life 2 it's on. And while it is understandable if you've played every title in the series, this game is marketed as a prequel to Half-Life 2. But in this video, I'll be demonstrating how Alyx is constantly bouncing between Half-Life 2 like a basketball thrown by a toddler. Yeah. Obviously spoilers for most of the Half-Life series, go play them, then come back. Released in 2004, Half-Life 2 made some big changes to the gaming scene. Not only did the Source engine outshine any major engine faster than the Quest 2 being outshined like the moment it came out.
Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, I hope. Delicious.
But again, it raised the bar of what was possible with gaming, just like Half-Life 1 did as well. The story starts with the inverted version of Barney Stinson, where he says that you were the right man in the wrong place.
Man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
Quick side bit, the monologue here is actually super interesting and more iconic than Iron Man becoming what I eat for breakfast.
And I am Iron Man.
You're quickly dropped into the subway, leading to what would have led you to Nova Prospect, the prison used by the Combine, but nope, one of the security guards in Half-Life 1 pulls you aside and lets you escape.
About that beer I owed you.
Long story short, the Combine have become the world's #1 problem, and you, Gordon Freeman, took that personally. You fight great value Bruce Willis and take down the Citadel. Now, I'm leaving out a good chunk of Half-Life 2 there, so if you want to know more, just play the game. Just play it, they're cheap most of the time. Just do it. By Nike. Half-Life 2 Episode 1 is the events right after Half-Life 2, but like I said, I'm not covering it here since it's not at all relevant to what I'm bringing up in this video. Just fucking play it if you want. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 starts you off in a train car after you and Alyx crash one in Episode 1. You see the crumbling Citadel in the distance. Again, long story short, you fight alongside Alyx, for most of it anyways, and you meet up with her dad Eli. You plan on launching a rocket into space with plans on closing the portal the Combine are entering from. While you successfully do that, what's known as an advisor, or otherwise known as your typical 4chan user, comes in to pin down Alyx and Gordon and kill Eli. This was the ending we got. For 12 years, this was the last time we saw anyone from Half-Life make an appearance in any form of media. But that is until... ...2019 was a wild time to be a Half-Life fan. Not only was the announcement for this game totally unexpected by anyone, but we were in like this sort of love-hate relationship with it since, yeah, it's a new Half-Life game, but behind a niche area of gaming not many people were into. Personally, I lost my mind at the announcement. I've said this before, but in 2019, I did not care for anything coming out. All of a sudden, I was actively losing my mind, shitting my pants and throwing it everywhere, but I didn't care what it took. I would play Alyx. But before we get to Alyx, welcome back to Viewie's Hot Gamer Facts. Did you know that Minecraft's overworld is 9 million times the size of Earth? The surface area for the Minecraft overworld is 9,258,235 times the size of Earth. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Alright, back to the video. Half-Life Alyx was announced to be a prequel to Half-Life 2. You take the role of Alyx this time for the third time. Long story short, Eli, Alyx, and the newcomer Russell have stolen a shipment of goods from the Combine. They find out, kidnap Eli, so Alyx and Russell set out to rescue him. Once you do, you find out that they're hiding something called the Vault. Then they think of the possibility that they're containing Gordon Freeman inside, which to everyone's surprise, it's not. The G-Man talks to Alyx, giving her the choice to save Eli in Episode 2, or to live free from the G-Man, and just like your mom's new boyfriend Daryl who insists you call him Dad, you have to accept. Now this is the part where it gets a bit confusing about timelines and where Alyx actually takes place. For starters, you would basically have to play Episode 2 to understand anything in Alyx. I know Valve already said this, but without a proper warning in-game or further research into what games to play first, which most people definitely won't do, you're taking some massive spoilers 2 seconds into starting. I didn't mention this before, but the very start of Alyx says the time this game takes place is 5 years before the death of Eli Vance. But besides that, again granted Valve did mention this before even Alyx came out. But where does Russell come from? He's never properly introduced, as he's just a background character in the first call with Eli. You work with him throughout Alyx and then never seen in Half-Life 2 or its episodes. Did he die? Did we lose contact? Like, it's never properly explained. Sure, they could give us the old bit of, I need to call a friend, and bam, Russell is in Half-Life 3, but it's just lazy writing. Something else is enemy types. Throughout Half-Life, you had the standard headcrab, combine/military patrol, and zombies, with some slight varieties in each of them. But alongside the normal headcrabs and poison headcrabs in Alyx, we also get what's known as revivers, something that can take control of a dead zombie and reanimate it. These were never mentioned in any Half-Life game besides Alyx. Alright, you can kinda give it a pass since they're in the quarantine zone, maybe revivers only exist in the quarantine zone and go extinct before the events of Half-Life 2. Sure, let's say that. But there are plenty of other combine types in Alyx that don't appear at all in Half-Life 2. In total, there are 4 new additions to the combine types that don't appear in any other later titles. The Half-Life Alyx wiki says that they were retired in the time span between Alyx and 2, but that just seems like a lazy excuse to add than take away. I know it seems like I'm going harder on Alyx than Johnny Sins after a long day at work, but just know I do actually like Alyx. I understand that it's been a long time since episode 2, there's been an updated engine, things like that. They would need to innovate their game in some way. But to completely toss aside the set enemy list, characters introduced in one title, and to not give a proper warning to those who didn't see what Valve told them to do, for a Half-Life game, it's just a little janky. So here it is, the definitive list for games to play in Half-Life. You have Half-Life 1, Blue Shift and Opposing Force, if you're feeling a little flirtatious with the series. Then we have Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and Half-Life Alyx. To clarify my point into a too long didn't ask summary, Alyx has far too many inconsistencies within the Half-Life universe that go unaddressed in the series. Although Alyx being a good game, things should have been clarified just a little bit more. Again, this should be clearly laid out at the beginning of Alyx, just, you know, it could literally be in the main menu, just be like, hey, by the way, you should probably play Half-Life 2 Episode 2 first. Sorry for the rant, thank you for watching, of course, we're on that swift road down to 500 subs. Join the Discord down below, and I will see you all soon.
Ooh, that's a good one.